she added after a few gulps, wishing she were better at hiding her feelings, at saying what people needed to hear in the way they needed to hear it. Words were probably a thing to avoid at the moment. Ernie scooted around the table and smushed in for the pick with her friends. She smiled for all she was worth, thinking about kittens and waterfalls and lemon chess pie, and definitely not the fact that her best friend was moving across the country. Tomorrow, Ernie would mope about being left behind. Not for the first time, either. Tomorrow, she reminded herself. While Dia summoned the waitress, Ernie asked about Jules's new apartment in Redondo Beach, a shoebox but only 4 blocks from the ocean. Her new commute, probably an hour, but you can't get anywhere in LA in less than an hour. Also, beach, and her new job. She'd be dealing with city poverty, which wasn't the same kind of poor they saw here at the edge of the mountains, but need was need, and helping people was just what Jules did. Within a few minutes, Ernie's jealousy was creeping up behind her good intentions, gripping a baseball bat and planning to strike. When a fresh pint arrived, Ernie was so grateful that she complimented the waitress on her dance moves, meaning it to sound friendly, though judging from the waitress's expression, it probably came out barbed. Dia flashed a pitying look at Ernie, waggled her eyebrows at Jules, and changed the subject. "You told me to find you a no-regrets farewell hookup, and I think your man is right over there." Dia inclined her head toward the long bar, staffed by a bartender with full-sleeve tattoos and a handlebar mustache. There was an assortment of dudes lined up at the bar, but her target was easy to spot. He was one of the hot guys Ernie had watched come through the door earlier. In profile, the guy was a study in sexy. He looked like he was in his mid-20s, maybe. All in black, of course. The guy had on a leather jacket, which she guessed wasn't totally out of place now that the fall was creeping in. Pulling cold air off the Blue Ridge peaks and turning the nights crisp. The mystery man also had dark stubble and effortlessly disheveled hair that was a shade too long, brushing his jaw. He was sipping a whiskey as he looked down at the bar, sliding his fingers over its surface, unhurried and deliberate. "He looks depressed," said Ernie, not exactly eager to lose any of her last few hours with Jules to a complete stranger. What if he's contemplating suicide? "Morbid much?" asked Jules. "Jules is a social worker," said Dia. "She can save his life." Jules bit her lip. "What if he doesn't want to talk?" Dia laughed low and purring. "How about a little CPR then? Nothing like a bit of mouth-to-mouth when you run out of things to say. This is pretty low stakes, Jules. Just go over and say hi, order yourself a drink, and see if you can pull his attention from his phone or whatever he's staring at. Ask him if he wants to dance." She motioned toward the tiny dance floor in front of the quartet, where 3 couples were swaying. One middle-aged pair who were likely tourists, one goth pair who looked like they were considering drinking each other's blood, and one pair of neo-hippies who looked like they weren't old enough to even be in the bar in the first place. "We've got your back," Ernie blurted out after Dia kicked her under the table. "You can do this." She offered a brave smile. "You can do anything, Jules." Jules beamed. "What have I got to lose?" She stood up and smoothed her miniskirt across her thighs. "Here I go." Dia slapped her butt. "Atta girl." Ernie watched as Jules slid onto a seat next to the cute, broody guy. As her friend offered him her glowing smile, Ernie checked her phone. Just after midnight. Jules was leaving today. "Potty break," she announced as her throat tightened. "Want to join?" "You go ahead." Dia waved her hand without taking her eyes off Jules. She and the cute guy were already talking. Ernie wound her way toward a cobwebby piano on which a crooked sign was propped, pointing down a narrow hallway to the bathroom. If Jules wanted to spend her last few hours in Asheville kissing a random dude, that was her right. She'd earned this, all of it, and despite being a tall, stunning blonde, she only just seemed to be fine.